Well, welcome to the RC Audio Sports Vodcast. We come back again this 22-23 season here. We thank you for joining us. Coach Robert Villafranca, Haley Wilson back again here, and we're getting ready to talk about District 14 5A Division II football. We're also going to talk about 28 5A volleyball and get some cross country in, and not in that particular order, but we're going to get to all of that and catch up. It's been quite a while, Coach and Haley, since we've been able to get back onto the podcast and talk some sports.
It's been a while. I'm really happy to be back. This is the first podcast of the season, and really happy to see you guys.
Yeah, excited to be back. I feel like it's been a long time, but also not that long of a time, just because we've been talking about getting back together and planning for the season over the last couple of weeks. So excited to get back to covering these awesome athletes and just the awesome stuff that's going on in the San Antonio community.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's finally here, and it's time to go. Coach, before we get into the nitty-gritty of all the athletics here, every 2 years there's a realignment. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that kind of works? And so people always wonder why these years we're playing these teams and this year this other team. But give us a little background on the realignment.
All right, we'll do. It's kind of old news and new news at the same time. This is something that occurred in late winter, early spring, that the UIL comes together every 2 years. It's called a biennial realignment. So every 2 years, the UIL comes together and realigns all the teams in the state. And you can get reclassified from, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, depending on how big your enrollment is. And then once the state does that, it classifies you by what A you are, then it puts you into districts, hopefully by proximity. It does its best, the state does its best to organize these districts so that there's not very much travel. There are always exceptions, and there's always somebody waltzing across Texas all the time, but they claim, and I think that they do their best to keep it by proximity, by schools that are close to each other. For our viewers, the two districts that we're going to be that will be focused on are going to be 14 5A D2, like you said, in football. Football is split into, each class is split into Division I, Division II. Again, trying to create some parity, district championship and the playoffs and such. And in non-football sports, we're looking at 28 5A. So in football, 14 5A D2. In everything that's not football, it's 28 5A. So that's cross country and volleyball that we're going to talk about today. The districts, real quick, is the non-football districts are kind of interesting. We competed against Floresville last year, and that's the only team that's not with us this year. Floresville went down to 4A. They'll be competing in 4A, and we're bringing in South San, who dropped from 6A to 5A. So South San will be in our district coverage, and you know that's going to create some intense rivalry games, and so I know that I know South San and the other teams in the district are looking forward to that. Harlandale and McCullum are moved to 14 5A D2. Remember, we were in 12 5A last year. We were playing Austin schools and Buda and Kyle and all them. And this year we were brought back into Region 4, which is San Antonio, the Corpus area. And the district, the main part of the district that we're going to cover in 14 5A D2 is SAISD schools. It's all the SAISD schools and Harlandale ISD schools, Harlandale and McCullum. And so it's a 9-team district, and district starts next week. The football team has one non-district game. It's this weekend, and then we go with district. So that's a realignment in a nutshell. New districts, some old faces and some familiar faces and some new faces, and that happens every 2 years.
Every 2 years, it's certainly a time of suspense for all the coaches in the area and in the state, right? So they waiting to see what district they're going to be put in. So thanks for that great explanation, Coach, on how that works every couple of years. But let's get right into these things, both Coach and Haley. Let's talk 28 5A volleyball. Coach, you talked about how not much has changed in this district other than one team replacing another team. How is the district right now shaping up? Because there have been some games being played already, even though we were just started school.
Well, 28. It's 28-5A, the district that ultimately these teams will compete in. We're talking about Eagle Pass Win, Medina Valley, Southwest and Southwest Legacy, Harlandale and McCullum, and Southside. And I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody there, but and South San, of course. Floresville left us, and South San moved in to take that spot. And but the volleyball hasn't started playoff. I mean, hasn't started the district season yet. Still in the tournament phase, and I think 28-5A volleyball is going to be very competitive. The team that I'm looking at right now, Haley, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but Southwest last year finished outside of the playoffs. They were the 5th place team in 28-5A, and boy, they are really making some noise in preseason and in tournament play. They've come in second twice. I was just reading their Twitter feed earlier today. They're in their Southwest ISD tournament this weekend, and they haven't lost a match there yet. I think they've only lost 3 matches this season to Brennan Holmes and St. John Paul II. It was a solid volleyball team. So looking for big things from Southwest. They've got, of course, Madison Milligan is back for them, and they have Addison Bartlett as a sophomore that was named to the San Antonio Express News players to watch list, and that's going to really solidify their front line. Of course, it's Harlandale that's the defending district champ, and they're looking pretty good too. We'll talk about them a little bit more. Haley, what are you seeing when you're watching the 28-5A volleyball?
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. One of the things that I've also been seeing on Twitter, I know, RC Auto Sports has been doing a good job of covering it. But when you're talking about teams that are improving, I know Southwest has got off to a great start, but most improved already. I've seen some great stuff about Southside. They're off to a really, really strong start this year. I had saw that they had won as many games this season, just now, before district play is even kicked in, as they did all of last season, right? So they're 7-6, above the 500 mark. They're starting off really, really strong. And man, they must have been grinding really hard over the summer, because that's like a complete 180 of some of the stuff that we saw last year. As far as Harlandale, we got the chance to cover a couple of Harlandale games last year. I think we even did, if I'm remembering correctly, 1, maybe 2 Harlandale versus McCullum volleyball games. And we have some different players to watch there for Harlandale. We had the chance to see Kayla Reyes last year. She did amazing. Already this year has notched up San Antonio Express News Player to Watch nomination. And then we also, I remember very vividly, on our broadcast talking a ton about Channesty Coach and watching her crush it on the court last season. Who am I missing? Who else have we seen?
Well, Channesty can fly, and Avery Green is a senior this year. I think she's always been very good. I think there's even improvement from where she was. I've watched Harlandale play a few times. Emily Perez is just vastly improved, and I've seen Emily play the front line and the back line. She can hit and she can set. I watched a couple of matches in the Harlandale ISD tournament, and man, Emily can really set the ball, and that's not something that that had drawn my attention before this year. So she's really doing well, and you named Channesty and Kayla and Emily and Avery, and they've got it's a solid team. Coach Castro does a great job of developing the talent, and they're defending champions. Last year, Serena Hernandez graduated, Grace Pacheco graduated last year, Lily Aguilar graduated last year, but a core of that team is back. And before we get too far, you mentioned Southside, and they've got a player on that team. She's about 5'5", and Sarai Rivas, and my gosh, she's amazing. I know last year she played volleyball and basketball, expecting her probably to play basketball again this year. But gosh, does that kid? I mean, you see some. She's 5'5". She plays the front line, by the way, and she'll put the ball on the floor. If you're looking across that net and you're saying, well, I probably won't have to block this one, you're absolutely wrong. You got another thing coming. So Sarai Rivas, I'm sure, is a big part of Southside's turnaround season. And I look at her and I think she's the heart of the team. So Southside Cardinals really a good call on that. They've really turned it a bit.
Yeah.
You know, Coach, just outside of that, I do want to say a small apology to Chancy because I was mispronouncing her name in the sports banquet, and I promised myself that I would make sure I correct that. So my apologies for that. But we will have a chance to do some more coverage of volleyball again. I know you were talking about it, Haley, that we did do some volleyball games last year. We're planning on continuing to do that. So September 13th, we will be covering Harlandale at South San. So we will make the trip out that way to bring that game to you. So here we're planning on being busy this year, covering all types of sports. And probably something that we've not done within a football season, right? So we're excited about that, traveling over to South San for some more volleyball to start on the 13th of September.
After the 13th, Bobby, it's Tuesday night volleyball from there. So look for RC Audio Sports covering the game of the night, or the Tuesday game of the night as we proceed through that district season. So I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, so we're looking forward to the volleyball season, and also happening during this school year is cross country. We know that that's also a very important part in athletics. We all remember in the name in cross country that sticks out in my mind is Sebastian. Last year for the Harlandale Indians. I believe he graduated already.
Yes.
But broke a lot of Harlandale records. But let's get into some cross-country talk.
Sure, absolutely. The cross-country, most of the teams are like one meet deep into the season. Harlandale was going to host a meet yesterday, or Wednesday, as a matter of fact. They were going to host the meet Wednesday, and it got rained out. But most teams have run one meet. You see some names, some recognizable names on the leaderboard of the Floresville meet. Alicia Galvez of Southwest Legacy was a regional runner last year, and she turned in a 30-minute 30-second time in her initial meet. And Anthony Zapata, also Southwest Legacy. Southwest Legacy has really, Medina Valley, Southwest Legacy really have a lot of talented runners. And Anthony Zapata was one of the returners. He is a junior this year, and he made it to the regional meet. Just out of our top three, Regina Pompa of Medina Valley, I believe. I don't have notes on that one, but I remember Regina Pompa was the fourth best runner for 28.5A at Floresville, and she was also a regional competitor last year. So looking forward to a great cross-country season.
Yeah, I know, Coach, you had talked a little bit about Southwest Legacy, but I know at that Floresville meet that Medina Valley also kind of cleaned up for both the boys and for the girls. For the boys, their varsity, they placed first overall. I know that John Buendia placed a great time, and Mark Castro also placed an awesome time. And then for the girls, we had Jaslyn Garcia, who actually won, and then Nicole Bloodgood, who came in third, just behind Alicia Galvez that you had just mentioned from Southwest Legacy. So Medina Valley Panthers, something's brewing in their cross country boys and girls teams over there, because they got some people that can really fly.
I think Southwest Legacy right behind them, and then the rest of 28.5A. If they're looking for that team, all the teams have talented runners, but if they're looking for that team championship, they've got to put together a group of kids. And right now, judging from what we saw last year, Haley, and then after that first meet, Southwest Legacy and Medina Valley, they pretty much reloaded, and you've got to on the boys and the girls side, you've got to count them as favorites to win that district championship in about 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll keep you up to date on all of that, all that is cross country throughout our Vodcast each week. We'll catch all the school sports for all that. So now transitioning into football. We had the great introduction that showed us and told us about why we have a new schedule every 2 years, and this is an entirely new schedule for us in district. So Haley introduce us to the teams that are now in our district?
Yeah, so we have some familiar names, some newer names, but district this year, I'll go down the list, introduce everyone, and then we'll break a few of them down for everyone and try to get everyone's thoughts on how this year is going to shake out. But we have Harlandale. We're going to be covering McCollum, actually covering the McCollum at South San game this week, which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit. We have Brackenridge, Edison, Lanier, Sam Houston, Highlands, Burbank, Jefferson, and Alamo Heights, which I'm biased. I live in Alamo Heights, so I'm excited to cover some teams that are, around the corner from me. But kicking it off with Harlandale, I know we got some Harlandale alum here on our Vodcast, but and they're bringing back 8 starters, 6 of which are on offense. And so I had the chance to watch some of the different interviews, I think, that had happened at practice this week for the Indians. And, from what I've heard and what I've sensed from the interviews from the team, this team's going to be much younger this year, right? They said last year was more of a senior heavy team. And this year we have some senior leaders that are hopefully going to pass some leadership down to some of the younger guys. So I guess my question for you two, as y'all have been in that scenario before. I mean, how do you see this year shaking out with, I guess a smaller number of seniors and a lot of younger guys that are going to be on the team this year, kind of stepping into bigger shoes than maybe what they might be used to?
Well, that diploma, the diploma cost the McCollum Cowboys a lot of seniors. I think last year in our district, McCollum was probably one of the most senior teams that I've ever covered. There were some games that 21 of their 22 starters were seniors, so they're going to be a little bit vulnerable, and the test will be put to them to field a group that's not very experienced or hasn't had a lot of varsity experience. So I'd say I'm going to watch McCollum early. We do have them Friday night. They're going to go to South San, so it's going to be really interesting to have. Again, there was several games that we covered for McCollum. They had 21 starters were seniors, so we'll see if the group behind that group is able to fill those holes. But you're absolutely right, especially on the defensive side where Harlandale is concerned, especially on the defensive side, very, very senior, eight, maybe 9 seniors on the defensive side last year, and a very solid front 7 group, and kept Harlandale in a lot of games. Harlandale wasn't able to qualify for the playoffs in either of the last 2 years, but credit to the defense in a lot of those games that kept the games close and within reach, and that Harlandale offense is able to generate yards. And we'll see again. We got a new quarterback, Jacob Sauceda will get his first start as a varsity quarterback, and several linemen in front of him as well. But there's been a great consistency. Coach Totis is in his 6th year, I believe now, and there really has been a great consistency on the offensive side, well, on both sides of the ball. But I look to the offensive side as really being consistent, being able to move the ball against some teams that you would think they wouldn't be able to, but they really have. But we'll see how that shakes out. As you said, this is 2 tough years playing in 12-5A D1 the last couple of years, and I know that these are some old rivalries, Brack and Edison and Lanier and Burbank, and we're gonna bring some of those old rivalries back to the field, and I'm really excited about seeing that.
What do you think, Bobby? I saw you get in there.
It's all right. Yeah, it's going to be exciting, especially each year that coach. I'm going to talk about Harlandale first. Each year that Coach Torres has been at Harlandale, he's had that extra year to prepare with his kids, with that style of offense that he brings, that he's been trying to perfect as he's gotten here. And it's an exciting style of offense. We know that he likes to put the ball in the air, and it really relies a lot on the quarterback. So that's going to be, I feel like, the most important spot for the Harlandale Indians is the quarterback spot, because if that machine is not going, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a long process for the Indians, because we've seen it before in transitions where they've been trying to get something going offensively, and they just, because 3 and out can happen within 30 seconds for that team. So the quarterback position is probably going to be the most important position, in my opinion, to look out for in the direction of the success for the Harlandale Indians. What I'm looking forward to as far as what McCollum is concerned is that, yes, Coach, they did graduate a lot of seniors, but I think they graduated a lot of great seniors that try to prepare this team for this upcoming season. In covering this past McCollum team, it was just a different feel about those guys, and I feel that they've done a good job of leading a good example for the McCollum Cowboys. And there was a few more wins in the record book for the McCollum Cowboys over the past year, so I'm excited to see if they can go ahead and continue to feed off of that momentum from last year. So I'm excited to see about that. And as far as the overall district, I'm excited that we do get to play in this. I like to call it the inner city, because traveling, first of all, is not going to be a very big problem for the schools. That traffic these days is tremendous, or horrendous, I should say. And at that short little drive over to Alamo Stadium, which is about 3 miles from my house, which I'm excited about as well. So
it's like 0.6 miles from my house.
So that's going to be fun. But it does remind me, those were the teams that were in the district when I played back in the late 1900s. It was the SAISD schools, so it's great to be in this district, and I think it's going to be a competitive district. And I'm really looking forward to the football season.
As we all are, Bob. This week we have McCollum at South San. Very interesting. It's a non-district ball game. Next Thursday, we travel with Harlandale all the way to Alamo Stadium for a Thursday night game against Edison, and that's going to be the district opener right there. Week number 2, district opener right off the bat. You talk about travel. The longest road trip for the Indians this year is Alamo Heights. And we're going to have to go all the way out to Alamo Heights. So everything else is going to be nearby, and that's great. I mean, we're kidding about it, but I mean, how great is that for families, and how great is that for the kids? To be able to have everybody in the stands again. And we're still, coming back from a couple of years ago when there weren't many people in the stands for good reason. And so I'm really looking for a bounce back to to the football crowds and the football enthusiasm that we're used to seeing on this part of town.
One thing that I go ahead, Haley. I just want to mention real quick, because I know we led off with the South San McCollum game. We did have Harlandale and Veterans Memorial originally on our schedule. I know we've been trying to step up our social media game on that, and Haley did a wonderful video telling you guys what our first game was, but we want to make sure we're clear that we are moving our production over to South San High School for the McCollum South San game, and really we can get into just a little bit of it. There's going to be some construction, no press box at Harlandale, so there might be some rain, so we just need to be covered. So anyway, Haley, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure we officially explain that as far as why we made that move.
No, you're good, Bobby. The one game I wanted to make sure that we kind of mentioned and touched on because of the premise of it this week was Lanier at Floresville. And I didn't know about this until I did a little bit of research this week, but they're having what's called the Peanut Butter Bowl. And I'm sure you know all about this, Coach. But Peanut Butter Bowl is essentially a fundraiser that happens multiple times in multiple games in the San Antonio area throughout the year to help raise peanut butter and funds and money for food insecure children in the San Antonio area. So I thought that was really cool. That's one thing I wanted to highlight. You can actually go to peanutbutterbowl.com. I don't know if you can make that pop up when you edit that, Coach, but you can go to peanutbutterbowl.com to either donate to the cause or look at all of the different games in San Antonio that are happening this season, where you can go out and watch a game and donate and, be part of the good cause. That's
a citywide and area-wide initiative. Mm-hmm. Now it's an initiative that's really grown. I think it's only 3 or 4 years old, but it's really caught fire. And the Harlandale Veterans Memorial game is part of that initiative, and as is the McCollum South San game. So again, as Haley said, to raise awareness that there are those among us who are food insecure and are struggling to get to put food on the table. So besides the obvious goal of bringing peanut butter, jars of peanut butter and raising money for that, besides that, it's also important for us to be aware of that and not turn a blind eye to such a serious problem.
And with that, we want to thank you for joining us on our very first episode of this new season for the Vodcast. We're going to be bringing this to you weekly, all this information. Remember, it's volleyball, cross country, and football. Coach Robert Villafranca, Haley Wilson. Want to welcome some new sponsors this year to our crew. So we really thank you guys. We'll mention those right here in just a second. But also to our main sponsors, Martinez and Associates, Texas Revolution Youth Football and Cheer, Rufio. We have Brooks, Proper Realty, Rockin' G Grill, Superior Tax, Motto Mortgage, and J-Rod Videography, and also live from the South Side, our media sponsor as well. So we want to thank everyone for your support, and remember to follow us on our YouTube channel. We appreciate you watching, but also hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you.